Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video I want to discuss with you all my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch presentation that happened on Thursday, January 12th. Now, there was a lot of good things, there were a lot of bad things about it, but I just want to say I did not get to see the Treehouse this morning, Friday the 13th, so if there's something that was revealed or something that is contradictory to what I concluded via the Thursday night presentation, feel free to correct me in the comment section of the video below. Too Long Don't Watch, Nintendo once again picks kind of gimmicky over powerful. However, the game lineup is looking to be quite strong, although not really at launch. Doesn't really need to be though, and we'll talk about that here in a minute or so. So first of all, yes, the presentation was boring. Nintendo generally doesn't put on great presentations. They're usually they're a little bit memey, which it works out. I mean, Twitter is a buzz whenever Nintendo does a presentation because they always try to do things that are so kind of awkward that everyone wants to talk about them. And honestly, as boring as parts of the presentation might be, it's super smart for social media the way that they actually do it because it gets everyone talking about it. And I'm not necessarily saying negative things, we're just kind of nitpicking the way that it's being presented, the different presenters, the way different people speak about the different games, and just some of the special effects that they like to use in their presentations. So, when they started talking about the Switch, I kind of had low expectations for the console itself. We've heard a lot of things over the last few months, and once again, I wasn't really too impressed. I felt like it was, again, a very gimmicky thing. Let me explain some of the gimmicks. So one, the Joy-Con controllers, let me rephrase. They talk about how they fit comfortably in the hand. Those things are so tiny that I just can't accept that this tiny little thing is super comfortable in the hand, especially with the way they hold it. I need to get my hands on it first, but I first of all thought the controllers looked way too small. Second of all, the battery life is kind of along the lines of what I expected, so keep in mind that the Nintendo Switch is a home console that you can pick up and take on the go, although from what I recall, I don't remember if this was ever confirmed, I think it may have been, that it was supposed to be weaker on the go than when it was in the station at home. It has a battery life of anywhere from 2.5 to 6.5 hours, depending on if you're playing like a AAA title versus just, I don't know, doing anything that doesn't require much of the processing power on the machine. That doesn't actually sound too out of expectation. It's not a great battery life, but looking at most real life situations, I can't imagine, except for like traveling, like maybe from one side of the state to the other or internationally, I can't imagine a time where I'd ever be away from a charge station for so long that would be a problem. The thing is, when I'm charging things at a station, I'm usually charging things at like a phone or an iPad tablet or something like that. Something that I need to communicate with people, that I need to access texts, work, important things. I don't consider the Switch sort of an important thing, and carrying around an extra wire and an extra charge to charge maybe now 2 or 3 things does not sound too appealing to me. Granted, I as a consumer will probably use it as a home console, so the battery life actually has no impact on me. I don't foresee myself bringing this thing, this $300 piece of hardware, around with me to things like PAX and whatnot. So I'm just putting that out there for you guys. For me, it doesn't actually have any sort of consumer effect on whether or not I purchase the Switch. Other than that, just as a machine, you can clearly tell, again, it is not a powerful piece of machine. It is clearly behind the current generation. I've heard a lot of rumors, and I think there's finally some specs posted, and most people are, again, upset that the specs are not really reminiscent of a dedicated home console, but it's not a dedicated home console. It's a hybrid home/mobile console. So honestly, everything's of expectation. My expectations were just not high for the console itself. For me, if it's Nintendo, I'm honestly never even looking at the console. I'm looking at the lineup of games that Nintendo supplies. First-party games are something Nintendo does very, very well, and those, more often than not, are the sole things that sell the console, even if the console's hardware is far behind the current generation. As long as the games are fun, they buy it. Isn't that why we're gamers in the first place, to have fun? And to be honest, most of the games that were revealed, I was happy to see. Skyrim, we'll leave that one out, because Skyrim being put on another console is like, okay, I get it. Like, you can do it, but I don't want it. If somebody does want it, power to you, but I definitely don't. Looking at some of the other things, Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda. It is a launch title, has been confirmed as a launch title. I think we all kind of expected, and in fact, I think a few weeks ago, it leaked that it was confirmed for a launch title, but that's important, because the rest of the presentation, as good as the games kind of looked like they would be, they didn't ever give us release dates on any of them. So they were like, oh, you know, spring 2017, summer 2017, still in development. But nothing was listed as a launch title until the very end when they showed off Breath of the Wild. So at least that's there. Because the only other thing I think is a launch title is 1-2 Switch, which is, that's really one of the most gimmicky things about it. So you know how like the Wii had Wii Sports, you know, that was like the base thing that it came with. And it was actually a very good gimmick at the time. I don't even know what the Wii U's gimmick was. I think it was the Amiibos. I think that was when the Amiibo gimmick started. And the Switch still supports Amiibos, so I guess that gimmick is still there. And a lot of people love Amiibos, so power to you. You guys can continue to collect them and use them if you're someone who has already dedicated yourself to using them as we exist. In fact, doesn't the 3DS use the Amiibo? I don't know. I never got into Amiibos, but that was like a new generation gimmick thing that Nintendo really got into, and those things sold like hotcakes, so you're damn right they're going to continue support on those. But the controllers, basically, it's a game where you don't need to actually look at the console. You just play a game like one of them is, you know, quick draw. When it says fire, you both pull your controller and point it at each other, and the first person to fire kills the other person. Basically, super easy games that you can maybe play in a public setting with a friend or something, and you don't even need to look at the console. The idea sounds okay, but it just makes me think, there's so many games I could just do that with on my phone. Would I really want to do that on my Switch, carry around this controller, stand up and like do all these things? Would I ever bring this $300 piece of hardware to a party and trust that everyone's going to treat it with respect in this kind of scenario where people are, you know, whipping the controllers around and they're moving all around? I don't know, I don't feel safe doing that. So for me, that's just a written off gimmick. I don't even consider 1-2 Switch, which is the name of that gimmick, as part of like a launch game. It just doesn't qualify for me. However, I did finally hear that there was a third title that was actually launching. I know, 3 titles, plus I think they have the Nintendo eStore, which has a bunch of stuff on there, but I mean, that's true of all the Nintendo consoles, so I can't really count those as launch titles. And it's Super Bomberman R. You guys may not know this, Bomberman is one of my favorite game series of all time. I don't know what it is about it, but I always just loved, just back from the original, picking up the bomb, blowing it, making it big, throwing it, bouncing off another bomb. I always loved the gameplay of Bomberman. So having Super Bomberman R as a launch title is a plus to me. It's not a crazy huge title like Breath of the Wild, but at least it's something. We also know that one of their other really gimmicky titles, ARMS, the game is called ARMS because your arms are like super long and stretched. I lost my mind when they presented this game and told us that the title was ARMS. Like, is the expansion going to be legs? Like, I don't even know. It did look fun. It's a ridiculous concept, but it looks like basically a fun little, you know, stretchy fighting brawler game where your arms just extend super lengths. I can imagine we could get like Luffy in there. We get Inspector Gadget. We could get, who could we get? We get Mr. Fantastic. Just get a bunch of third-party DLC characters in there, and you are golden. What else did we have? Oh, they revealed that there will be a Shin Megami Tensei game on the console. They also revealed that Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 will both be on the Switch, as well as in Japan, Dragon Quest X, the MMO, which we've already discussed, will be ported onto the Switch, and Dragon Quest XI, which we've been doing videos about recently, will also be on the Switch. So they didn't confirm, they specifically said in Japan for Dragon Quest X and 11, so no confirmation of localization on 11 there, but we're still kind of expecting it. Shin Megami Tensei from Square Enix, also apparently the studio that works under Square Enix that developed Bravely Default is coming up with a new original RPG that is going to be on the Switch. That is something to be excited about, but again, no sort of window or release date, so I can only kind of temper my expectations of the system's initial launch. Oh man, I'm also forgetting, Super Mario Odyssey. Now I gotta admit, Super Mario Odyssey, it reminds me a lot of Sonic 06 because it's Super Mario basically coming into the real world. It's like a mix of the real world and like a fantasy world. It almost looks like he's in Manhattan in a sense. And, you know, he can jump on cars and it was really weird, but the gameplay and the way it played, and this is not the first time we've seen Odyssey. We have seen small glimpses of Odyssey before. So it looked really good. It looked like they had the right gimmicks, new gimmicks. It looked funny. It looked fun. And that's all that matters in a Mario game. I saw it and I immediately went, oh my god, this reminds me of 64 and Sunshine. And with like a totally new spin, but it reminds me of those. And it is. They actually directly reference 64 and Sunshine. It's the first somewhat sandboxy Mario game where, you know, you have this world. In Case of 64, the castle. In Sunshine, you have the town. I can't remember the name of the town. It's just been too long since I played Sunshine. Began with a P or something. Where you have this hub, and all the different, you know, parts of the town unlock as you go through, and you can unlock different stages and things like that eventually till you get to the end of the story. So if it's like those games, good, because those were fantastic games. And it even has a little gimmick where you could throw your hat and the hat can attack enemies. You can jump on your hat. You can use it as like a platform to jump across. And apparently the hat is alive because it has eyes. So what that actually ends up meaning for the game, I don't know. But I guess it's kind of like the Sunshine water jet. I can't remember its name again, where it talks to you and it's part of, it's like his traveling companion. Apparently Yoshi is just bottom bitch now because they just give Mario anything that's not Yoshi pretty much. Oh, what else was there? There's something really important I'm forgetting right now. Something super. There was no Metroid. There was no Star Fox. There was no Donkey Kong. There was Skyrim. I already mentioned that. Oh, I'm forgetting something really, really important. Oh, Xenoblade 2! Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I think in Japan it's only called Xenoblade 2. I think in America it's called Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But yes, that was confirmed for the Switch. That is also big news. I've heard some people say that it's like not even, it's barely through development, but I've also seen reports that it's slated for a summer 2017 release in Japan. So maybe the English localization has no work done on it. But either way, Xenoblade 2, as you can tell, like, I'm an RPG fan, and this system is calling to me. As disappointed as I am with the hardware, it doesn't matter, because these are all games that I want to buy. The problem, only a couple of them are launch titles. So what do I think? Switch, first of all, we know the launch doesn't have that, they didn't make as many units. They publicly stated they would not be making nearly as many units for the launch for the Switch as they did for the Wii U. It was a mistake that they made, and what it does is it lowers supply with a high demand, and people are just always buying them off the shelves, and they're never over creating stock. So, yes, they're trying to lower their overhead and whatnot as a business, whatever. What it does mean, though, is it's kind of good. There aren't too many crazy launch titles. Like, yeah, there's Zelda. Yes, I know, it's going to be crazy awesome. But don't feel bad if you don't get it at launch, because most of the games that you'll probably want, that you're looking forward to, probably won't be out even this year. I would say by Christmas would be probably a good time to consider picking up a Switch, maybe a Black Friday sale or something like that. If you're really itching for Zelda, or you have access to pre-order one, and you know what, the earlier you get it, the less you need to worry about later, go ahead. But to me, the Switch seems like a gonna buy system. I think I'm definitely gonna buy it. You know how definitely sure I'm gonna buy it? Because I don't trust any pre-orders on any websites, because I've been screwed on so many pre-orders when there's things like this that are super high in demand. I have it pre-ordered in 3 places, so hopefully one of them gets to me. I'm pretty sure Amazon will actually get my system to me, but in case it doesn't, I've got some backups, and I hope that they actually work. Hey, who knows? Maybe I get an extra, I give it away on stream or something like that. Who knows? But it's looking like a solid purchase for $299 plus with the controller. The only other problems that I really see is if you want to use the thing on the go, the actual system on the go, you're probably going to need a battery pack, so that's an additional cost. The controllers are ridiculously priced. If I'm recalling correctly, the Pro controller, which is basically like a normal gaming controller without any gimmicks, is $70. The Joy-Cons, a set of 2 Joy-Cons, so one of each of the things, so it's technically you as a player will use it as one controller, but if it's each Joy-Con can be passed to a friend, so you each play with like one of the 2 Joy-Cons. It's $80 for a pair of Joy-Cons. They are gonna make so much money. Here's the thing: if I play 1-2 Switch, those things are breaking like nothing. Like, they are made of butter. So they're going to make a lot of money on the hardware. They're going to be very profitable on the hardware. Those prices are a little crazy, but I mean, people are going to be willing to pay $130 for the Master Edition of Breath of the Wild. People pay $80. Besides, what does it matter to me? I'm not going to buy a bunch of Pro controllers, or I'm not going to buy a bunch of controllers. I fucking sit in my room and play them for YouTube and Twitch. How many controllers am I realistically going to need? I'm just pointing out that these are things that most consumers might look at and kind of go, I kind of got a family and I got to buy multiple of these things, and that's a pretty hefty cost in the end. So, and also, it only has 32 gigabytes of built-in space. I'm going to say it right now, that's awful. That's terrible. You have no excuse in this day and age to have only 32 gigabytes of built-in space. I can't even fathom. Yeah, go buy an SD card. You're gonna have to. You might as well go get it now. On top of that, they're making you pay for the online services, which doesn't seem that bad. I mean, I pay for PlayStation Plus and people pay for Xbox Gold, but these paid online services, they're not very good. From what I understand, they give you an NES Classic, one a month with added online play, but at the end of the month, it is taken away from you unless you want to go purchase it separately. So it's basically like a free trial of a game for a month. And then if you want to keep playing it, well, you got to go buy it. From a business perspective, makes sense. Compared to PlayStation Plus and Xbox Gold, makes no sense. So that's all I got to say on that front. And then there's also, it's going to be free for a little while, but then I think that you also need to like download a separate app on your phone or something to chat with people. Like the chat's not even built into the console. It's a really, really weird online service. I highly recommend you look it up and read the exact details on it. So instead of taking it from me, but I don't know. Like they definitely made a bunch of wrong choices. Luckily, I could just enjoy the games that I want to get and not have to worry about those wrong choices because I'm not going to be traveling with it and need to worry about battery life. I'm probably not going to use the online services because I don't plan to play the console often enough to need them. I probably won't ever have to worry about paying all that ridiculous money for a controller, so what does it matter to me? But you guys, maybe it does, so that's why I'm presenting it to you. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch presentation. I'm hoping the console does well because it has a lot of promise, has a lot of potential, and it should easily, I feel, easily outshine the Wii U as a Nintendo staple of a console. Also curious to see how 3DS support continues after the Switch launches because we know that the 3DS will continue to have support. But anyway, thank you for watching my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned because as long as it's not a Nintendo licensed product like Zelda or Mario, I could post it on YouTube. I just can't do it for Zelda and Mario. I could just stream those. I could stream them though, so you can come by the stream. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next one, and until then, take care.